The following program is intended for a mature listening audience. Graphic and explicit language may be heard at times. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual hosts and their guests do not necessarily express those of this station or sponsors. Listeners are advised that neither this station nor its owners and agents shall be held liable for the content of this program. Rebroadcast, redistributed or reused without express written permission by host or producer is not allowed.
Welcome, everybody, to the Vixen'S Vault. Today's date, January the 14th, 2026. It is a Wednesday evening at 9:02 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Been a very interesting day. A lot of you are not having a very good day if you have Verizon Wireless because, yeah, they're not doing too hot right now, and they're still not up. They have been down since early this morning, actually. And it wasn't really a gradual crash either. It just all at one time. You know, their networks went down. And again, I'm hearing from the inside that it is definitively an infrastructure issue within Verizon. And that would explain why they're not back up yet. But I also know that it wasn't just limited to Verizon, because I know T-Mobile is actually still showing in the red, which means they're still having issues. AT&T is still showing in the red. They're still having issues. It seems to be moving throughout the Amazon Web Services network again, which is also down. So again, timing is everything. I guess you could say that. But when I hear infrastructure issue, yeah, that makes me, I'm automatically saying, yeah, that, what are they going to blame it on a node again? I mean, no, and no. And again, timing is everything. We've got a lot going on here in the States, a lot going on in Europe, and there's a lot going on over in the Middle East. I wanted to, preface that with the fact that apparently this morning, Bibi Netanyahu jumped on his version of Air Force One, which is called Wing of Zion. And the given reason was because he was they're concerned about the protests in Iran. And yeah, there's that. And my strategic brain went, huh? What?
But he wants to know where he's going to nuke him at.
Here's the problem. He really can't, which is why he keeps pushing the United States to intervene. Because if he does it, he is now in clear violation of the Abrahamic Accord, which he kicked and threw his tantrum about for how long? Because the other Middle Eastern countries would not sign on, and so they all finally sign on under Trump, but it restricts what he can do. He can't just bomb Iran because he doesn't like them and because he thinks they pose a threat to them and because, they're quite a distance. And yeah, he can't just do that. It would violate the Abrahamic Accord. So not because Iran signed on, because they didn't, but the surrounding countries did. So it's a problem. It's a problem.
Why would Israel want to bomb Iran when Iran is having its
Yeah, isn't that a good question?
Anyway.
Why are they encouraging Trump to bomb Iran? Why are they demanding he bomb Iran? No, and I said it before and I said it again. I'm very sure that Trump is not a Bibi Netanyahu fan, and a lot of what we were seeing was a giant trap. And yep, pretty sure that's proving true because Trump has made it very clear yet again today that he is not going to bomb Iran. That he's getting reports from his military people on the ground in Iran that the violence has subsided. Therefore, he does not see a need to bomb Iran. Now, there's also other reports coming out that the executions taking place were actually done by Mossad. And it's not just one agency reporting that. There's several of them now. That's, again, problematic. Mossad. Yes, they're actually saying Mossad.
Oh,
well, there's been executions in Iran for many years now. But I still don't understand, why would America even want to touch Iran? Iran is on its last legs, and the Republic is on its last legs anyway.
We wouldn't. The only reason we got involved in Iran to begin with was because of oil and Israel. And that was, decades ago. You forget the Shah of Iran, all that good stuff. I mean, yeah, we were knee deep to a quarter at that time period, and we never really extracted from it. That's the interesting thing, because I could tell you in the 80s and in the early 90s, my dad was working with Iranians through the Air Force. So, I mean, not all is what it seemed on the surface. So, again, there's a lot here we've never been told, and unless you're looking really carefully, you're not going to see it. And again, I'm pretty sure Trump, again, he's made it clear, just like he did with Venezuela. He's not putting Machado in power. Won't do that. He's going to let the Venezuelan Constitution do what it needs to do, even though Israel's jumping up and down saying, Machado, Machado, Machado. Trump's like, no, we're not putting Machado in power. Venezuela has a constitution. Let them follow their constitution. And with Iran, he made it real clear that this was a movement for the people of Iran. Iran has nothing to do with Israel. Israel can't even try to claim their eminent domain like they did where they're sitting now. That was pretty much an eminent domain claim. It was ours in ancient time. It's ours again because we bought it. You can't do that with Iran because Iran preceded Israel by a long stretch of time. So, yeah, that would be really seriously problematic. But, again, I think Trump is all about the Iranian people controlling their country, as they should. If they want the Ayatollah out, let them take him out. We'll help them. I guarantee we have forces on the ground helping them. Guarantee that.
So as Britain and so as France, more than likely.
Yep. But should we allow Israel to get their claws into that? No. Absolutely not.
One thing I can say is if Trump does publicly intervene in Iran or Venezuela, or especially Iran, the so-called international community will be all over him. It'll be because of so-called international laws, and it will make his image a lot worse than it is now.
Well, I think it's interesting because, we're seeing all the airspace is cleared. The airspace over Iran has been cleared. And I can't tell you how many countries we recalled their diplomats yesterday and today. A crap ton of them. But again, you've got reports coming in that the violence is quelled, that, people, yes, there was some violence. There have been exchanges of talk and promises made. But I'm sorry, Mark, you cannot trust Israel as far as you can spit them. No. If they can stir a cauldron, they will do it. And especially if it makes them look clean and somebody else look dirty.
Well,
they will 1,000% do it.
At least Israel under the current political regime.
Well, that's the other thing that they don't talk about in Western press is the fact that the Israeli people are not happy with Bibi Netanyahu at all. That's been pretty clear. If you watch some of the stuff coming out, they are not happy with him. That's why I said it would be very interesting with what happened in Venezuela if the Smartmatic and Dominion servers revealed that the 2022 election where Bibi somehow got reelected, even though he was widely unpopular, was as a result of Smartmatic software. That would be really interesting, wouldn't it? Kind of put him in a serious crosshair. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say was, people like Lindsey Graham have been saying, on the press, been saying over and over again that we're going to attack Iran. But Trump hasn't said that. It's not. He hasn't promised. He hasn't committed to do anything like that. But the reason why Israel wants him to do it, wants the U.S. to do it, is because Israel cannot defeat Iran. For all during the 12-day war, what we found, or what they learned, basically, their hubris was checked, because despite their air forces being able to take out the air defense of Iran has too many missile batteries aimed at Israel to defeat them. So, during the 12-day war, the Iranians smartly used all the 1980s stockpile that they had for the Iraq war, and they used it to overwhelm the Iron Dome, and then use it to light up their radars, so that they can then use hypersonic missiles to come in and take them out. And then it was just a heyday after that. It was just like sitting ducks.
There is a problem. Sorry, I was just going to say there is a problem with that, Matt. Was it last year that Iran tried to attack Israel?
They bombed the snot out of Israel.
Yeah, and they didn't actually do that much damage as far as...
Oh, no, they did a lot of damage.
Well, they did.
Yeah, there's been a lot of footage coming out recently, too, of more damage of those 12 days.
Yep.
You can't listen to the mainstream media. If you listen to people that aren't attached to any of the administrations or any political agenda, guys like Scott Ritter, Colonel Douglas McGregor, those guys, they're hyper knowledgeable. John Kiriakou, people that are in the know, but they're not part of the system anymore. Those guys will tell you flat out. I mean, they all have contacts in country, and they'll tell you flat out. Israel got destroyed. They practically begged Trump to call a ceasefire because they were getting hammered. And the other thing too, the other message that was sent was that even office buildings that don't look like anything, but they hit all the right offices that basically telling them, yeah, we know exactly what you're doing, and we have the ability to hit it with pinpoint accuracy. That was what rattled Bibi Netanyahu. You cannot, and despite the Air Force's capability, especially using our ISR, our intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capability, they still cannot defeat the overwhelming amount of missiles that Iran has. And let me tell you something: they weren't the only ones that just the missiles, but the drones. They weren't the only ones that invested heavily in missiles and drones. That was actually Russia that figured out it costs too much to maintain a standing army. It takes too long to train pilots. So we're just going to develop the best missile and drone technology and overwhelm the hell out of whoever our enemies are.
Especially with the cheap drones.
Yeah, and it makes it incredibly hard to do anything to them without fear of retaliation. That's the reason why Bibi's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because when they sent the Mossad agents in there, they were shooting both civilians and police, like we did, like our agent provocateurs did in Ukraine during the Maidan coup. They sent somebody in there and they started shooting cops and protesters, and that's what kicked off the Maidan revolution in 2014. Well, Mossad's doing the same thing in anticipation of weakening Iran enough for the United States' imminent attack, which never came, and I don't think it's gonna come. They blew their load too early, and so now as soon as they started doing that, that's why Bibi took off in his planes, because he's thinking to himself, okay, Iran is rounding up our guys, they're gonna lynch them, and they're probably gonna attack Israel any minute now, and just like Ukraine, attacked Putin's home, they're probably thinking that Bibi's probably thinking they're going to put a drone right through my bedroom window.
There's an argument.
Bibi might be thinking that, but I don't think that. Just me personally, I don't think they'll do a first strike around, but I could be wrong.
No, I don't think so either. Because again, despite what the mainstream media will tell you, and despite what the Washington elites will tell you, Iran wants normal relations with the rest of the world. They don't want to be sanctioned. we have, who was it? Richard Pearl? No. One of our heads of our intel community said that basically we wanted to put so much economic pressure on Iran that it basically we put extreme pressure and basically starved them to death, something like that. I can't remember how the term how he put it, but they wanted to bring crippling economic sanctions on Israel or Iran, and it's working. That's what the initial protests were about, were the rising inflation and the droughts, which again Iran has been for almost over a decade saying that we, the West, have been using weather weapons to create the droughts. Iran has been the breadbasket and still is. I mean, they actually trade with Saudi Arabia, despite one being Shia, the other side being Sunni. They still trade back and forth because they have no choice. Iran is the breadbasket, and without them, even Saudi Arabia wouldn't have the food that they need to feed their own people.
I've got an issue with the protests started with the food issue narrative, because I argued that there's been inflation. I argued that there's been protests for several years now, but obviously a lot of it's not being reported in the West because politics, really. Also, there's an argument I've heard within recent days to say that a number of senior military figures, generals in Iran, are now running out of Iran. I've heard, and I've not confirmed, that some IRGC members are in Britain now. Literally.
Entirely possible. I mean, some people are probably going to see as a war between Israel and Iran as inevitable, and that the United States is going to take their side. If that's the case, well, then they're just another. What's that general that got whacked in Iraq? I don't know.
Soleimani.
There you go, Soleimani. That's it. So, they're in their eyes, they know that for decades now, it's going all the way back to 9/11, and General Wesley Clark's list of 7 countries in 5 years, they have been warned from the get-go that they are in the United States crosshairs. So they're doing everything they can to prepare themselves for that. But at the same time, you look at what just happened to Venezuela. I mean, we went in there with special forces and we used, drones and sonic weaponry, and just technologically, we just went in there and we picked them apart like it was nothing. It was like sending an NFL football team to take out an elementary school Pop Warner football team. Okay, it was not even a challenge. It was not even a challenge. And they're all looking at this stuff, and there's like, okay, yeah, we have the missiles and we can hold Israel hostage, but at the same time, the United States has B-2 bombers that can come in and do a decapitation right off the bat, before we even launch them. We managed to, defeat the air defense and drop a couple of major bombs on them. So yeah, we have it's the technological capability of the United States that keeps everybody, at bay.
And it's the political power that keeps the United States at bay on an international
front. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at campaign Trump versus President Trump. They are night and day. Trump campaigned and said the complete opposite of everything he's saying now. And it, honestly, it pisses me off to no end. I supported America first. I wanted a clean house here first, because without cleaning out here first, we don't know what the truth is. Only with the truth can we then go out and take out the right people. And, I know there's a lot of competing theories about, especially if you're a Q follower and you think he has a plan, that they have to hit certain places, like Colombia is supposedly tied to Chinese human smuggling, blah, blah, blah. There's, a lot of these interlocking, I guess, problems that we supposedly want to take care of. But to me, it seems to me like if we cleaned our own house out first and we say, everybody at CIA, NSA, just back away from your desks. Nobody will be harmed, and we just declass and dump everything, and just let the people go through it and pick it apart, and we'll identify all the shitbags. Not just Epstein list people, but everybody that's ever, used the government to line their pockets. You know what I'm saying?
That could create a sort of witch hunt mentality. That's it's sort of giving the populace pitchforks and torches.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure.
Thomas Jefferson said that the tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with blood of patriots and tyrants. And he even advocated as often as every 20 years.
Correct.
All right. That is the only way that you keep government in check and answerable to the people, because it is the people that they are supposed to be answering to, not a bunch of oligarchs that are using the government to line their pockets, or a foreign country that owns our politicians.
That's why exactly
that's blackmailing them.
That's why I said when everything happened in Venezuela, and again, that's why I said to you, he's going to let the Constitution of Venezuela do what it needs to do, and the only way he can do that is to hold control or keep the power structure that's there under control until a clean vote can be had, because otherwise Israel's going to move in and they're going to put Machado in power, and it will be through whatever mechanism they need to do. And I can't see. I'm seeing all these reports where they're saying that Machado supposedly won that election. No, she did not. No, she did not. Not even close.
No.
So it's like, and it wasn't Maduro that defeated her. It was the other person that was on the ticket that defeated her. And so it's like, I don't know why they're trying to spin this false narrative. But I was telling Raphael earlier today, you do realize that the Rothschild Bank were in Venezuela in 2024. Because he keeps saying, we keep talking about it. He's like, well, no, Venezuela needs to stay with the BRICS. And I'm like, no, Rothschild Bank was in there balancing their spreadsheets in 2024. So they were already infiltrated in. I think what we saw was an extraction, and I think Trump was basically extricating the World Bank out of Venezuela. Let the Venezuelans do what they're going to do.
Yeah. Well, playing devil's advocate, one of the justifications we used for going into Venezuela was that Maduro rigged the election, or he's stayed beyond his term. All right, they basically rigged the election to stay in power. Well, so did Zelensky. He called off the election, and basically he's president in perpetuity until this war is over.
Correct.
But yet we're supporting him. Well, I think that Trump's new strategy about control of the Western Hemisphere, basically he's dividing it up between the three superpowers.
Yep.
The United States, Russia, and China. Europe isn't even going to play a role in the future as far as geopolitics go. The EU is on its deathbed.
UK will.
If Ukraine fails, the EU will be done.
Yep. Yeah, agreed. But I was just going to say, Zelensky is in power because it is a wartime action. I mean, in World War II, there was meant to be an election halfway through in Britain, and because of World War II, so there was
that was Winston Churchill. Yep.
Yeah, there was an excuse for Zelensky to be in at the moment.
But the thing is that with Zelensky, they knew that those elections were coming. They made a big deal about the elections. They made a big deal about the elections being honored, and then they didn't do it. So there is a difference, because World War II, they knew they were under an affected state of martial law, and that Winston Churchill would continue on. It's kind of like here. If Trump declares the Insurrection Act, and that's why I keep saying these liberal protesters are just absolutely freaking stupid, and they're playing right into what needs to happen in my mind, which is the Insurrection Act needs to be declared. That puts us under ex post facto martial law status, which means there will be no midterm elections. That's just the way that flies.
Nancy, can you hold that thought? We got to take a break.
Yep, I was just going to say, and with that, I got to take us out to our first break of the evening. Folks, hang in there. We'll return with more of the Vixen's Vault in just a few moments, and we're going to talk about Greenland. Hang in there.
All right, we're on radio break.
You know, it's funny because I did an interview earlier tonight with one of the Full Disclosure networks about super soldiers. And it was a very interesting discussion because you can go as far back as World War I, where everybody was kind of experimenting with different dynamics as to how to produce the most perfect weapon that was human or had human-like abilities. And I was telling them about a friend of mine, I think I've told you guys, friend of our life, who definitely was Black Ops, and who definitely believes he's a super soldier, you know, basically concocted through our United States military services. His mom was military intelligence. She was shot up the whole time she was pregnant. She's a very tiny person. His father is a very tiny person, and he is like a tree. He's huge. All of his kids are huge. They don't get sick until COVID. Until he took the COVID vaccine, he didn't get sick. I mean, they don't get sick. It's a very interesting, and they're all very intelligent, all very quick, all very athletic. In fact, when I first met his kid, I looked at him. I said, "What are you trying to reproduce the Aryan nation? What the hell?" And I mean, because literally, that's what it looks like. And he then, when I said that, he kind of smirked, and he goes, I don't think you even understand how close to that you really are. It turns out he is like directly descended from the Habsburgs out of Germany. His family were Nazis in World War II. They were integrated into Americans, and he can show you the paperwork to back this up. They were integrated into society over here. They're very beyond wealthy, like disgusting amounts of money. And, you know, he said, I'm pretty sure, you know, because of my bloodlines, that's why my mom was chosen for these injections, whatever they were. And I said, well, there was Leesborn over in Germany, which was their super soldier program during World War II. And they tried to do that through breeding. I was like, but very, you know, it's just really interesting. But he did give me some information on places in the underground network that I was unaware of. And I'm pretty well versed on the tunnel programs and where the entrances and exits are. And he was telling me different locations in Utah around the copper mines. And I got to tell you, he's right. So his information's not bad. But I know Ralphie and I have talked about it many times, and we both kind of wondered, you know, is he like a handler of some kind? Because there's no way that you just happen to get plopped next door to somebody like this, who was very much up to date on information. And Ralphie will tell you, guy knows his weapons inside, outside, upside down. There's no doubt he worked in a military capacity that was beyond normal. His connections are not normal. And when Trump retook office, when we kind of knew he was going to win, interesting enough, he took his family and established residency over in New Zealand. And if you're an Anon, which I am, New Zealand is a very interesting place when it comes to the deep state. So when he did that, I was like, I'm just kind of double blinking, triple blinking, going, oh man. But yeah, they like basically pulled up stakes and went to New Zealand. No joke. And you believe me, to establish residency in New Zealand as an American citizen is a very expensive prospect. It is very expensive.
Both New Zealand and Australia are extremely
30 seconds.
They've got extremely expensive lifestyles. You know, you've got a living standard. Extremely expensive.
I know cigarettes are $40.
Well, they don't smoke, but I can tell you, like they bought like over 1,000 acres in New Zealand. So it's like,
and here's the countdown: 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you're live and back on the radio side right now.
And we're back from a very enlightening break. Usually our breaks are really punchy. This was a pretty cool break. It was just like, conversative, and it's interesting because I think even though things on the face of it, things are getting really crazy, we're as a board here, as our little round circle or round table, whatever you want to call us, round circle, that was great. We are actually kind of calm and starting to see things, I think, a lot more clearly because, again, you've got so many things happening at once, but things that don't make sense if you're listening to the news. You listen to the news and you watch what they put out, and then you start thinking, like that lady that got shot. Oh, my God, in Minnesota. And I'm like, well, what idiot hits I don't give a crap what your excuse is. Once you're told to stop and get out of the vehicle, you're being detained by people who are clearly identified as federal law enforcement. I don't care if you think they're right or wrong. You get out of the freaking vehicle. Because if you don't, you're automatically at fault. Automatically.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you even remotely point your wheels at some feds or ICE people that are in the middle of doing their job, yeah, that's what's gonna. And I'm not saying that's what deserved to happen to her, but I'm just saying that's what will happen to you.
I'm not saying that either, but I will say again, they are saying that she was part of some really radical training groups, very extreme. And that, these are things they're training them to do. And it's like, well, if they're going to do that, then, they better give them a big fat handbook full of the laws that they're breaking when they do this that could result in their death because they're idiots.
Right. Because the other thing I want to say about that is never in a 2-ton or 1-ton chunk of steel been hurled at some gun.
Yes.
Person with the gun either defeated the vehicle, moving the vehicle.
Jason, you're breaking up, buddy.
Sorry about weight of the pistol, or I'm sorry, by virtue of hitting that with the bullets, or by hitting the driver. Now you might jump out of the way and save your life, but never in the history of man has somebody pointed a gun and shot the person, and either the person pulled the wheel and they didn't get hit. You wouldn't plant your feet down and pull out your pistol and let that be your Hail Mary.
The thing is Raphael will say this. In fact, no law enforcement, no gun training classes teach you to shoot to wound. None of them. Not civilian, not LEO. They do not teach you to shoot to injure. Why? Because that's actually illegal. You have to, if you're going to take the shot, you have to be in absolute immediate fear of your life or somebody else's in the immediate vicinity. It is a thought process. Right. You have to actually, it cannot be, let me shoot to try to take their leg out. No.
Yeah,
you shoot to save your life.
You have to have your life. Right. And if you're doing that, you're not going to shoot them in the knee, for God's sake. Right. Indeed.
Well,
I know.
The thing here's.
Go ahead, Rafi.
Sorry, I was going to say, the thing is, it's a clean shoot. I mean, any way you cut it. If you're, the vehicle is the weapon. He had a right to defend himself. She had no right to charge him with that vehicle. But from you can look at it from different ways. Would I have shot? Probably not. I mean, Nancy showed me the body cam footage, and you can actually, see that he got hit, and you can hear the thunk and everything else. But I would not have done it for a couple of reasons. For one thing, it's not like she would have, there's nothing to believe that she would have gone on some kind of killing rampage that made it, imperative that I kill her right at that second. We can always pick her up after the fact for felony charges for striking the ICE officer with the vehicle. Now, that being said, that's also a risk too. I mean, what if his foot got planted and he ended up under the vehicle?
Well, and he had a history. He had been dragged by a vehicle 500 feet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a year ago.
This is what I'm saying now.
He's still suffering from internal injuries as well.
Internal injuries, yep, and 10 stitches. Yep.
But here goes the other side. Yeah, but again, devil's advocate, this is the other side of it. The reason why I wouldn't have shot. When you shoot the person and they go dead, who's driving the vehicle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, and that's what happened. The car kept going.
It's like when you shoot. When you get in a shoot, you gotta take a whole bunch of things as factored into the equation. What's the backstop? Is there anybody behind them that you could possibly hit? So on and so forth. Now, and if you incapacitate the driver, where's that car going to go, and when is it going to stop? Who's
it's going to go right into you. Yep,
well, he was already
no.
He was shooting as he was jumping. Like you could see, if you saw the body cam footage, you can see exactly what happened. And it's like he's jumping. He's trying to get out.
Every angle.
Yeah.
Indeed. No, I didn't mean in this case. I mean in like just whatever other case. There's like when I was saying that never has anybody pointed a pistol and somehow saved their life by shooting either the person in the vehicle or the vehicle, because the vehicle is just too heavy and the person would die and the vehicle would just keep going hurling in the same direction.
But
so I'm agreeing
the same
with
thing. Yeah. Well, something happened. Like on the security side of it. This security guard got hit by the vehicle, and he managed to get his pepper spray out, stick the pepper spray in the driver's side window, just douse the guy's face full of pepper spray. And all you could see was this fucking vehicle just swaying back and forth down the street trying to get away, and he hitting a couple of cars on the way out.
That's one for the tip jar.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, though. You have to be absolutely... you have to be thinking about all of these factors. Is it right? Is it wrong? That's subjective, but it was legal.
Yeah. I am trying to be careful, I say, because I want to stay away from the actual details of this thing because due process. But one thing that you've got to remember is that these things happen split of a second. You've got to have a split of a second decision.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like I have no doubt the woman hit the gas in response to her wife going, drive, like freaking out. I have no doubt that the woman hit the gas without even looking. Honest to God. Yeah. I really think that's what happened.
Well, she did. I'll give her this. When she backed up, she turned her wheel all the way left as to try not to hit the guy to the left. And then when she went forward, she did turn it all the way to the right rather than just try to plow the guy that was right in front of the vehicle that actually shot her.
But he couldn't see the wheels. That's the thing. He was too...
Yeah,
he was right there. It's like,
like Mark said, it happened so quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's the way it goes down. I mean, when you're on the job carrying the badge and the gun, there's a million calculations that go into it whenever you're in the field. And it's, as I said, one of the things is that it's up to the judgment of the officer. Like I said, from my viewpoint, again, I'm not part of these ICE raids and this craziness going on. It was never like that when I was in. But if somebody was barreling at you with a car, you did have the justification to take the shot.
Actually, it's under both federal and there's a federal statute that protects you guys, as you know. And then there's also a Minnesota state law that actually Tim Waltz signed into law that basically states that the vehicle doesn't even have to hit them. If the vehicle is just heading at them, they can open fire.
Yeah,
absolutely. So that idiot signed that law.
The Jersey State Troopers, they do it all the time. The Jersey State Troopers are known for that on the highway there.
Yeah.
Well, I think because we've lost so many law enforcement officers to stuff like that. So many have died because of stuff like that. Getting dragged and that's what I said. Okay, protesters make a choice. And these are not protesters. They are going outside the boundaries of the law in a big way. They're obstructing investigations. They are really, and that particular investigation, what an idiot. They were going after somebody involved in the Somali fraud who was accused of crimes against children. That's who they were actually apprehending. So they chose the absolute wrong stage for that. It just and then go ahead, babe.
No, I was gonna say it's also like you said, they were trained, but they're not pros. It's when I'm sure, like you said, when her wife was telling her, run, go, 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 go.
Yes.
She wasn't thinking about it. She probably just thought, her
Yep.
wife had some perspective that she didn't have or whatever. She probably, she didn't have the training and experience to say, okay, I'm trapped. If I do this, I'm going to get shot. She didn't think, she didn't have those calculations going through her head. The only thing that was happening at that point is probably fight or flight.
Adrenaline. Absolute pure adrenaline. And I thought about that. I thought, they were, but again, I'm thinking, I remember I asked you the other night, could that wife be held responsible? Because when you're told to get out of the vehicle that you're being detained, if you hit the gas, you are now fleeing and eluding law enforcement, which is like another crime. That's another felony on top of the felony they already committed. So it's, it's like, the wife was the one that encouraged that, which is why on the video you can hear the wife saying, it's my fault, it's my fault, it's my fault. Yeah, damn straight it's your fault. Damn straight it was your fault. So, but I don't know if legally there's any context to that.
Well,
that'll be for judge. That will be for
yeah,
they
won't
go after her.
Well, they may because again, that she's part of the act of interference.
Yeah.
Of the operation. But the thing about it though is again, all of these people get some half-assed training to make, basically spin them up, and they put them out there to just interfere and muck things up. But as there's a defected KGB officer, Yuri Bezmenov, that said that basically these are useful idiots that the deep state are using to stir shit up and sow chaos and to create basically a bunch of radicals to
it's
allow them to go ahead.
There was one today. Like, I have to laugh because whoever is giving them their little script book that they're supposed to use, honest to God, this girl, and I'm watching the video go, like, I'm just shaking my head. This girl is getting pulled out of her car by ICE because for the third time they told her to go and she wouldn't. She kept refusing to leave. And then when they would tell her, okay, we'll go this direction, she'd go the opposite direction, right where she shouldn't be. And so finally they stopped the car and they pulled her out forcefully. And as she's being pulled out of the car, she's screaming, I'm autistic. I'm trying to go to my doctor's appointment, which is right over there. You people have no right. I'm an American citizen. I speak English. And so I'm watching all these people like defend her on the thread. And I said, okay, I'm just going to make a really stupid point. If she's autistic and on her way to the doctor's office and she doesn't understand the words stop, turn around, and get out of the vehicle, then she should not be operating a motor vehicle, should she? It's like pretty simple stupid in my mind. Even if you're going to a doctor's appointment, if you have heavily armed men with clearly marked uniforms showing that they're law enforcement say, stop, turn the car around, you do it. And if you don't, you're going to the doctor's office and then you turn around and ask one of them nicely, do you know another way I can get over there, that area? Because that's where I'm going. You don't get confrontational. You don't keep trying to plow through. I think they've given these people a sense that they are somehow a law unto themselves. That's what I'm seeing in these protests. Like they somehow are the law and that the law enforcement officers are the bad guys.
No, they've been programmed by the left, the left politicians that you've got to get physical. You got to get violent. All these, who was it? Maxine Waters. Remember talking about, you need to go face Republicans in the restaurants and whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah, they've been radicalizing the left for a long time, basically making them think that we're in an absolutely existential crisis, that this is the time for armed revolution or we're going to lose the country. That's basically what they've been programming them with. So,
well, even funnier, like today, and to Raphael's point, today we saw the indictment or the basically not the indictment, but the referral of Bill and Hillary Clinton for failure to appear before Congress regarding the Epstein files, which they were commanded to do actually a while ago. They were given a sabbatical because Hillary was hospitalized very timely. But they had to appear, and they did not appear. And so Hillary really there's no legal way she can get around her not appearing. But Bill, good old Bill, releases a statement saying that he has presidential immunity. Now, I'm going to just segue everybody back a couple of years to when Donald Trump was summoned before Congress. And this was for things that happened during his administration. And they were telling him he did not have presidential immunity, even though what they were calling him there for happened during his administration, which would give him legal presidential immunity. And here's Bill Clinton claiming presidential immunity for things that happened in time periods not during his administration, which is clearly outside the boundaries of presidential immunity. So I just find it really funny. And like I said, Raphael's right. They've kind of flipped the world upside down, and whatever works for them, but it can't work for anybody else. And that's what we're seeing in the protests. That's what we're seeing legally. It's crazy.
This is a sort of Western world phenomenon. It's not happening just in the US. You've seen it throughout Europe. You've seen it throughout the Western world.
And I was very proud of you guys over there today in UK because, like I said, I saw a couple of reports coming out saying that your digital identity thing has been kicked to the curb.
Yeah, you actually showed me. Oh, you actually told me before I actually saw the reports. I don't know. Starmer has been somewhat economical with the truth in recent times. And it remind me of the old Thatcher's quote, you turn if you want to, this lady's not for turning. But
they could just do what we did here, with Edward Snowden. People forget, when Snowden came public and the American public were made aware of the fact that nothing is private, even though that's not legal by our Constitution. And Snowden was like, oh, well, we got this surveillance program and this surveillance program. And, of course, Congress was like, this is outrageous, although they knew all about it. This is outrageous. This is not legal. American people, rights, privacy, blah, 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 and then turned around and passed little laws inside packages that made it legal for them to do that. So that's exactly what's going to happen with you guys if they took a note from our book. SOPA and PIPA, same thing.
That's why I said when you put that message on last night, we just have to wait and see because we've still got another 3.5 years of this government in this country. Sure, there might be a general election beforehand, and arguably we could see one probably by May. Well, let's say September next year, potentially. But officially, we still got 3 years to go.
Hopefully, you'll still be able to join us on this panel and nothing kicks off in Greenland, because I really want to address that, because UK has made it very clear that they will jump on board with NATO if Donald Trump goes after Greenland. But what nobody is asking is why. Everybody's assuming it's about natural resources. No, it is not about natural resources, just like Venezuela was not about natural resources.
It's partially, but on the wider picture, it's a tactic. It's the strategic.
It is tactical. Yeah. It is partially, but there's more to it than that, Mark. There really is more to it. And Rafi knows this.
I think it could be a strategy to leave NATO, but without leaving NATO, to get NATO to leave us.
Nope. There was something that was found up in Greenland, and I don't know if Dave is aware of it. I know Rafi is. Something was found up there a while ago. And, again, I'm going to preface this with the fact that the base that the United States has in Greenland, we do have one base in Greenland. It's a massive base, and it is not U.S. Army. It is not U.S. Air Force. It is not U.S. Navy. It is not U.S. Marines, and it is not U.S. Coast Guard. It is not any of our military branches. It is Space Force. And why would we have a massive Space Force base in Greenland? Well, because that Space Force base is located right around something they call the Great Void, which was found in Greenland and is documented. Nobody really knows what it is, so they say. But I can tell you, in the ufology circles for a long time, that void has been discussed. And there have been, quote-unquote, government whistleblowers who have talked about that void, who say that there is an object in that void. And there's no definition as to whether, people automatically see UFO. And they go the Superman dichotomy. Oh, yes, the UFO buried in the ice crystal. We're going to see Superman's dead. This is awesome. No. This could be, I actually, and I said this to Ralphie earlier, I'm of the thought that if there is something down there, as they say there is, and there is a void, the void, you guys can look the void up. It's there. I think it would be something very ancient that was down there. Because I am a true believer that society has risen and fallen, and that we have buried technology, and I do believe that certain governments do have access to it. But I do believe that what I've seen most as to what people say it is weather modification equipment, things that can control weather, things that can control our atmosphere, things that can control earthquakes, all of that. So I find that very, very interesting. And I said, again, yes, it is a major shipping lane. Yes, it is actually the gateway in many ways. And it does make sense that, because if anything ever kicked off in Greenland with Russia, do you really think it's Denmark? Denmark that's going to protect it? You think NATO can protect it? Nobody's got the sources like the United States does. It would be us and our money that protected Greenland.
Wouldn't that be a violation of Article 5?
For the United States to do it?
Article violation, no. If anybody entered by military force,
yep. But I don't think Trump actually gives a crap about Article 5, because Article 5 only... Here's the thing, and Trump he's right when he says this. When it comes to the UN and NATO, it always seems to benefit every country but the United States with how they work. We pay for it all. But it benefits everybody else.
This is why I was saying maybe... that's why I was thinking maybe it's a slick way to get out of NATO, but without, like saying... Like when you want to dump a gal, but you kind of get her to dump you, that kind of thing.
Yes and no, but I go a little bit deeper.
That's a good analogy. I
go a little bit deeper, Jason, because I look at it like this. Again, I see other connections, and I'm like, being very honest, if you're going to dismantle the deep state, and you're going to put the world banking system at the center of that, which it is, good play, and you're going to put Israel into the middle of that, well, where did Zionism jump out of to land in Israel? The UK. It was the Rothschild banks, the Bank of England.
Right.
So,
Balfour Declaration.
If you're really going to root it out, you got to root it out. And I'm not saying the current UK government, because again, I'm starting to see things very differently, a lot differently, because I thought, like Mandami. Remember I told you guys when Mandami got elected, and yes, I did snort. I told you guys, I think he's a red herring. I think he's a Trump pawn. I think he is a red herring, because here's what's going to happen. Socialism's going to fail epically because he can't possibly do what he promised to do. And we're already seeing that happen in New York City. It's going polar opposite of what he promised. But he also threatened on December 21st to arrest Bibi Netanyahu on site if he entered New York City, which Bibi does do. And I thought, well, that would work out really well for Donald Trump, because then Donald Trump gets what he really needs done, and he ain't doing it. The other side's doing it. The liberals are freaking doing it, because here he ran as a liberal. So, and they're all supporting him. Oh, Mandami, even though they are not socialists, supposedly, the governor supports him. All the liberals are, oh, yes, they're whining around him. And I'm thinking, oh my God, if he arrests Bibi Netanyahu, they're going to wear so much shit on their faces. It's not even funny. It's not, he will single-handedly have destroyed the Democrat Party for history, for eons. There will be no recovery. So
I will
thought
say
that would be an epic chess move, man. That would be epic.
I will say that I've been watching multiple interviews, and the Greenlanders do not want to become part of the United States.
Rafi, you got to hold on to that. I got to take us out to break. I just looked up. Guys, I'm late again. We'll return after a long break, but we're going to keep this up because Rafi's going to finish his sentence, if he can remember it. Hang in there. We shall return.
All right. We're on radio break.
Finish that sentence. Rafi, finish that sentence.
I was muted. I was telling to take a break.
David.
I had this time I actually put a little ding on my thing to let me know. So I saw it. I'm like, I heard the little like beep in my headphone. I'm like, crap.
Did you see when I put my hand up? That usually means you need to take your break, or we're running behind.
No, that's why I said a ding. Go ahead, Rafi. What were you saying, Rafi? Finish that sentence because that was interesting.
Oh no, I've been watching multiple interviews. They're not happy at all about the idea of being sucked into the United States, and especially if Trump comes and invades and takes it. You look at all the problems that the United States has. We have messed up infrastructure. We have a ton of poor people that can't even afford the daily necessities. We have rampant inflation through the roof. All because we're tied to the dollar. But they don't want any part of it. All the excess, the drugs, the warped society, all of it. All those things they were talking about. I'm thinking to myself, they're absolutely right. They may not have Disneyland or any shit like that, but they have a peaceful and a peaceful culture that doesn't have any of our fucking problems.
Yeah, I just had another thought. If the US attempts to take Greenland, wouldn't this be a good excuse for the EU to actually put in a European Union army?
Well, yeah, but they don't have the resources to do it, especially with silver and gold doing what they're doing.
Yep, and silver's going to collapse. Silver will collapse with everything that's going on. I can't believe that I used to pay $7 a troy ounce, and now it's over, 90?
90.
It's hedging on 100.
90.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll be right back once we take and get reconnected. So, stick around. More to come from the Vixen's Vault right here. If you like what you're hearing and love our stream, please like and subscribe and keep in there with us. Getting the crew back. Just give me a few minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, that was awkward.
Yeah. I look at it, as they could take and use this as, oh, yeah, remember all that money you owed us from, NATO? Well, we can call it even.
I'm telling you, the European Union has, they don't have the resources. They don't.
Because at least for the short term, they can just create another form of quantitative easing.
Well, they'll just print more money. They'll take a page out of our book. Yeah. But again, that's the other thing I keep reminding people of. And again, I can't believe how quickly people forget things politically. I'm like, because people are saying, well, China this and China evil and China that and China evil. I'm like, yeah, well, China owns us, United States, because people forget they bailed us out in 2008. It was China who gave us the bulk of the money to bail our asses out with the Lehman collapse and all that. That was China. And in exchange,
and to go into Iraq.
Yep, they took a large bulk of our mortgages through our banks. And they hold the notes to those mortgages. So I'm like, didn't you stop and wonder why the Bushes are ass deep into China? The Clintons are ass deep into China. They all own so many things associated to China. Why? Because we owe China everything right now, and that's the better bet as an investment. Literally, they knew that.
Yeah,
But that, to me,
China
is illegal.
has frozen all silver leaving.
Silver. Yep, they did that last week.
And
Yep.
you know what silver you need silver for? You need silver for rockets, technology,
Yep.
and to go into space. You can't do any of those three things without silver.
Yep.
Can't make computers, cell phones, smartphones, anything.
And those new batteries, and those brand new batteries that Elon
took in. The US is not producing chips. On the majority, the US is not producing chips. It's buying in from China anyway. So it doesn't matter the US is going to silver because they are buying in the chips from elsewhere anyway.
It's funny because, again, Greenland. Another thing about Greenland. I'm not talking about oil. I'm not talking about Greenland has quite a bit of crystalline structure that we require for a lot of our technology. A lot.
So does Venezuela.
Yep. And I'm, especially the audio
is rich
technology.
In gold and silver.
Yep.
Not just oil.
Venezuela
does? The thing.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, big
Where
time.
do you think the Inca and the Mayans and Aztecs got their gold from? They just didn't pull it off the surface. They were in Colombia and Venezuela to get it.
Mark, did you add Rafi in?
And then the Spanish went there and robbed them.
Well, yeah. And
it's right.
somewhere there's a city that's just made of gold down there called El Dorado.
Yep.
Maybe.
Here's Roger too. Roger's finally back in it. He's. I can't add Raph because he's still on the call from before.
Oh, for the love of God, let me go tell him.
And just
hold on.
Call. Okay.
All right, hang on.
Hey,
Babe.
Jason.
Oh, there he is. He figured it out. Okay, Ralphie figured it out.
Yeah, but I was under the impression that China's going to have a limited supply of or limited companies of exporters, and they're going to be able to limit the amount of silver that goes around to all the countries in the world, and that's what's driving the price up. That's what's driving the price up. Yeah.
People are also forgetting there's another player in this game, and it's in China's belt, and people don't realize this. And I keep saying, God, you idiots, North Korea. Mm-hmm. See, they seem to think that North Korea, we're kept in the dark about North Korea. We don't, but I can tell you North Korea is probably the most resource-rich country on the planet.
One of them.
They have gold, they have silver, they have everything in North Korea and plentiful amounts of it. So it's like China's got their own little lifeline.
Yeah, that's
that was
one of the number one reasons during World War II that the Japanese attacked them.
Yep.
But China has also got a lot of sub-Saharan Africa as well. So, and as far as limiting China resources, well, you can create subsidiary companies. You can sell it to another company, which will sell it to you. You don't have to actually buy directly from China. You can buy from India. Who's buying from China?
If you take away Venezuela, then there's no need for Chinese warships to go through the Panama Canal to Cuba. All right?
Which, by the way, the Chinese bugged the hell out of.
That's where they would get refueled. We're under 30 seconds, but, And
China, they rigged the hell out of the Panama Canal. That was another reason why they kind of went after them, because they were putting all sorts of wonderful technology. Go ahead.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you are back live and on the radio side for the second hour right now.
And we are back with the Vixen'S Vault. Today's date is January the 14th, 2026. It is it's a getting colder Wednesday evening here in balmy Florida. I believe, where are we at right now? I think we're in the 40s now with temperatures, but Dave and I and Ralphie are about to freeze our ever-loving asses off. Because we are actually, we are under hard freeze warnings with potential snow, because it's like, I think Friday Friday morning, we're supposed to be in the 20s, and that's without wind chill factored in. So that is brutally cold for this area, but we need it. I have to tell you, we really need it. And simply
Did you
putting
say the
it,
20s?
Yes.
Yeah, high 20s.
Good
yeah.
Lord.
Yep.
That's the
And I have
here right now. It's like it's already in the 20s here.
Well, here's the thing.
But in Florida, forget
Florida.
about it. That's unheard of.
Ever.
I have lived through two snows in Florida. It has
Sissies.
snowed twice since I've been here.
Bunch
just
of
said
California
you said you
girls.
were currently in the 40s. That's 40,
We're in the 40s now.
Yeah, that's 40 degrees Celsius. That's pretty
like-
warm.
That's pretty.
So
That's
it's
Well, for
Fahrenheit.
you guys, actually, Mark Edworthy, I'm going to take you to task with this because I have friends in London, and they came and visited me in a Florida winter. And that winter, we went to we went to Universal over in Orlando, and it went down to like 19 degrees. And my British friend turned to me and went, "What the bloody hell is wrong with you Americans? What is wrong with you people? This is not cold. This is absolute freaking misery. I mean, this is beyond cold. How the hell do you get warm?" I mean, he was just going off, and I'm like, "Aren't you from London? Isn't it like, constantly like, oh, well, you people walk around with red noses because it's so cold over there?" And he started laughing. He goes, "Not this kind of cold. What the hell?" I mean, because Florida, because we get so warm and because we're so close to the sun, your cold days, okay, put it this way, you could experience a 40-degree temperature difference between the shade and the sun.
Same stuff. When I was living in Florida, when I was a little kid, we used to have that same pathetic argument when we visited family in Illinois. I'm sitting there shivering in 32 degrees with freaking a T-shirt on, and they're looking at me like, "Are you cold?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's freaking out here."
I just worked out the lowest temperature I've felt over the last, 3-4 weeks must be around -3 Celsius, so 26 degrees Fahrenheit.
I am from New York originally, and I can tell you I've been below zero temperature weather up in New York. It is you can't even feel your eyes. It's so cold sometimes, but you match that up with Florida, and again, the problem is our temperatures down here are vast and varied in the same, like, I could go outside at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It could be 32 degrees in the shade and 40-something degrees in the sun. So just at the same, just going back and forth between the sun and the shade, you've got a massive temperature difference. And then you've got your clothing. In Florida, we don't have like wool-based clothing. We don't have clothing for a very cold temperature. So basically, it's not enough to cover you effectively. And then you've got the wind and the humidity. The cold goes right freaking through you down here. And that was my British friends were saying, it is a ridiculous cold. It's unfair. It should not be banned from the planet because they were like, they could not get warm. They're like, this is nuts.
See,
you
had a good standing when you was talking about New York, but you lost it right there, dude. Your credibility.
It's true though. It's true though.
Picture of Floridians. All walking around in shorts and Hawaii style.
No. It drops below 70 here, and you were talking.
That's what they do.
Get the coats out when it hits 70.
I was going to say,
below.
You can tell Floridians in Florida. You can tell us from our snowbirds and our tourists, because if it hits below 70, we look like a bunch of Stay Puft Marshmallow people, and everybody else is in shorts and T-shirts. That's how you can tell Floridians.
Watch Flipper, and that's Florida people, man. If you watch the TV series Flipper, it has everything you want to know about Florida.
But I can tell you that people who transplant here tell you that the first year they think we're all nuts. Like, they really think we're out of our freaking minds the first year they live here. And then by the second year, they're looking to buy winter clothing because their blood is thinned from being here. And now they're cold like we're cold. And every year it gets worse. But, like, I could go to, like, I flew to Chicago about 20 years ago. and it was the middle of the winter, and I left Florida. Florida was in like I think it was the high 30s, low 40s, and landed in Chicago. And Chicago was between 5 and 10 degrees. I was more comfortable in Chicago than I am in Florida. So in the cold, like I was fine in the cold up there. I'm not fine in the cold down here at all.
Chicago is cold, is a nightmare. Don't even go there, because I remember I was talking about this the last time I think I was mentioning Chicago. I was up there. I was doing my training for a star, because I just started driving, and I had to go there to wait for to get picked up by a truck. And I'm sitting in the hotel room, and for 2 weeks I had to go back and forth to this store, and it was in the middle of wintertime, just maybe 2 blocks down the road. Every time I did, I had like snot stuck to my skin and shit. You know what I mean? It would come out and just stick to friggin' my skin because it was so cold. Oh,
dude,
man.
I can still remember as a kid in New York, my mother, when we, because do you ever see what's the movie with the kid that they play at Christmas time with the stupid BB gun that he wants? Oh my God, what is that?
Home
A Christmas
Alone?
Story? Is that what it is? No,
Home
is it a
Alone?
Christmas Story?
Christmas Story.
No, Home Alone.
Okay.
You're going to shoot your eye out.
It's Christmas Story. You're going to
Yes,
shoot
you'll
your
shoot your eye out,
You shoot
Ralphie.
your eye out.
Ralphie, you're
Ralphie.
gonna shoot your eye out, Ralphie. But that was what my mom was like. Like we there was a process to get us all dressed when I lived in New York in the winter. Like you had, multiple layers of socks. You had the thermal underwear, and then your next layer, and then your next layer, and then finally, when you got to your winter coats, you really looked like a stuffed sausage. But Mom's last words to us when we would go out to play would be, "Do not put the yellow snow in your mouth." No joke. Those were always her
Good mom.
last words.
That's a good mom. Not too many moms give you that heads up ahead of time. You're
Do not put the yellow snow in your mouth. And then she would like single out my older brother every time. David, do not. I am telling you, do not put the yellow snow in your mouth.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's again,
The good old days.
I can still remember like using my parents' garbage pail lids because we had the metal cans up in New York, and the lids were like, they ever see a Christmas Vacation when he gets on the sled and it's like a saucer? Well, that's kind of what those metal lids were like. And we used to like do balance skating and zooming on the metal garbage can lids. My mom used to get so mad because we would bend them and they wouldn't fit on the garbage cans anymore. Oh yeah, good times. But I think there's there is a drastic difference between a Florida cold and northern states. Maybe because y'all are used to it. Maybe because our sun's in a different position and we are a lot closer to the equator. So if the sun is out while it's cold, that sun is pretty warm, and that throws your internal thermostat into hell. But
I think Seinfeld had actually the better answer for that, because he had this episode where this guy was going out to the Jersey River with his son to show him what it looks like. And it was the middle of the night, and he's sitting there talking about, "This is the Jersey River. Look how beautiful and grand it is." And his son goes, "What's up? Is there something in the river right there?" And he goes, "No, son, that's not something. That's probably a dead body." The mafia has a tendency of dumping their dead bodies here after they kill somebody.
That's, it's so funny because I can go back to so many, like, I'm going to back to Christmas Vacation again, because sometimes I think that movie encapsulated so many funny things about my own childhood.
Yeah.
Like when they go out at the very beginning, when they go out for the Christmas tree, and his daughter Audrey's eyes froze open.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think, Audrey? She can't answer, Clark. Her eyes are frozen. I was like, oh my God. But it's just little things like that. I mean, and I think about, I'm thinking about what a traffic nightmare we're going to have on Friday if we do end up getting snow flurries.
Get ice.
Because
we get ice. Because they shut the interstate down in 89 up here.
Yep, you were here at 89 too, so was I. Yep, and they shut the power off because they couldn't compensate for people using their heat. Yeah. Because heat takes more energy than air conditioning does.
When was the last cold front like this before? I mean, because I remember some when I was living there when I was a little kid, but.
Oh, we had one a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we had a good snap.
20s up here where I'm at.
Yep, we were here too. I know the last time we had a real bad front, it came this far. We were down in the 20s, but we didn't have the right conditions for snow because the way the front passed through, we weren't in that area where we had enough moisture. But north of us, Panama Beach got snow. Tallahassee got snow.
My God, a year ago, wasn't it? Panama, Pensacola, they got the whole panhandle.
You guys are going to have so much fun. This is like a festival for you guys. Cause
I got a four-wheel drive vehicle, so I don't care.
Last time this happened in Tampa, they were collecting snow in bottles and selling it, and they were making a fortune.
Exactly. It's like freaking. You guys are going to love this stuff. It's like because you don't get snow very much here. We just hate it. You guys are like, oh man, it's gonna snow. All the kids are running around like Santa Claus is coming to town. You know what I mean?
The way I look at it is, in Florida, people can't even drive when it's not snowing or raining.
Right.
You put anything wet or slippery on our roads, and it is game on. I mean, people literally. You have two types of drivers down here. People who drive very quickly and know exactly where they're going and actually obey the traffic laws as far as signals and everything else goes. The only law they don't obey is the speed limit. And then you have the idiots who go under the speed limit, don't use their blinkers, don't understand that you're supposed to give way for certain types of traffic, have no clue that they're not supposed to be driving in tandem on the interstates. I mean, and they cause more accidents than you'll ever understand. And then you put all those people together. And
then there's the tourists.
Oh God. It's
everything you described, and then there's the tourists.
Then there's, and I am of the nature and the thought process that, they're missing the boat here in Florida, because it's like, if you're going to rent a car to people from overseas, which they do all the time, as we all know, the airports are chock full of car rentals, and they don't really question very much when they rent a car, just whether or not you have a credit card and insurance, or if you want to buy theirs. It would be prudent to ask if they speak English before you rent them a car.
Well, the signs are in English.
For the love of God, how are they supposed to even know our laws on the road if they can't understand English? And that was, I couldn't believe when I found out the state of Florida, we give our driver's license test in like 72 different languages. I'm like, what retard thought that was a good idea? Who thought that, we can't discriminate? Yeah, you can.
I remember being down in Miami in the 90s, and me and my gal at the time we were 18, but we were under 21, and I think you had to be 25 to rent a car. But
in Miami, we had
an American Express card, but it was weird. It was something that had to do because we're from PA, no, but if we were from Florida, then yeah, I don't know. It's real tripped out.
Well, see,
I heard of that. I heard of
Jersey. It could be a lot worse. I heard of so many Americans getting confused which side of the road to drive on in the UK.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We've caused quite a few fatal accidents over there.
I've got a solution for Florida, though. Instead of people vacationing in all the popular places, send them to Lake Okeechobee.
And what in the world are they going to do at Lake Okeechobee, though?
They're going to see the largest mosquitoes they've ever seen in their life. And they're going to actually probably learn Spanish, because pretty much nothing else is spoken in the areas around Lake Okeechobee.
Pick some
migrants down there, yeah.
Oh, they might actually learn how to harvest sugarcane if they're paying attention. I mean...
It is the place.
You might see a dog man or a skunk ape too.
Skunk ape.
Clewiston was at the lower end of Lake Okeechobee.
I have stayed there many times, dude, because it is haunted as all hell, and I've done multiple paranormal investigations at the Clewiston Inn.
They used to have the best pies there.
Oh, you don't want to know what we found in their kitchen, dude. I was just going to say the one investigation that stands out is when we took the blue light into the kitchen. And I literally, I shined it over the surfaces and I was like, oh, I'm never eating here again. Ever. I will go to the truck stop down the street first. This is not, oh God, it was bad.
You know what,
but
Rick,
they did,
you know what that's
they shut it down.
Protect, right?
Was that right?
What?
I didn't know that. Yeah,
they did.
You know what the blue light's supposed to detect, right?
Bacteria, heat signature, blood, you name it, it detects it. It picks up anything. Yep, everything biological that could be possibly on the surfaces. And when the surfaces is coming back, nothing but blue. And this is where they're preparing your food.
Yeah, go on.
It's bleh. But yeah, they are. From what I've heard, David, they're reopening under new ownership.
Oh, is that right? Oh, good.
Yeah, I mean the Clewiston had it's a very old. I think it was built in like 1892.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
and it was never really updated for some of the weather patterns. And then, of course, you had the problems with all the. I know they took a big hit financially with the green algae down in that area.
Yeah, right.
Because of the smells, you could not get people. I mean, not only that, their biggest customer base at the Clewiston was bird watchers. Because Lake Okeechobee
and the bass fishermen, they used to hold tournaments down there in Lake Okeechobee. Yeah, both. Bird watchers, huh? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, because they say that Lake Okeechobee during the winter, that's where all of the birds pretty much, you can find pretty much any breed of bird from the northern area in Lake Okeechobee during the winter, because that's where they all end up. If they don't go further south, that's where they end up, in Lake Okeechobee for some reason. But they say it is a bird watcher's paradise.
It's neat. So you did ghost stuff down there? And
yes, and actually I had quite a few experiences at the Clewiston that were not things I was very comfortable with. It didn't scare me. It more pissed me off than anything else, because it was I think when I was there the first time, I think we had 12 different teams there, a total of almost 100 people. And these were not civilians. These were actual people from teams that were well trained, not like fly by night teams. These were good teams that had come in from all over the country. And for some reason, Florida Paranormal Research, FPR, they decided they were going to test myself and another girl named Red. Virginia's her name, but I call her Red. To see exactly how psychic we were, but they didn't tell us that, like any other good experiment science would do. And we are both very sensitive, and with me, I don't like being walked into a trap, because again, not that I wanted anything else, but I do sometimes want to gird myself from what I'm going to walk into. Because, I mean, there are certain areas when you are empathic or you're sensitive to energy, there are areas you will walk through. It is like walking through a freaking swamp with your feet stuck in the mud. And it's just, I can't even describe it to you guys. It's a horrible feeling. And and they walked me into a room where somebody had died. And unfortunately, the signature in the room was still very strong. And I was like, basically feeling the symptoms of what the person who died felt before they died. And I didn't know that. I'm like walking up the stairs and I'm getting these chest pains. Walking up the stairs, I'm thinking, what did I have for lunch? I can still remember doing this. I'm like, because it felt almost like gas. Like, I'm like, holy crap. And as I'm walking down the hall, it's getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? And then I'm starting to smell this horrific smell. As I'm coming down the hall, I'm like, what the fuck is that smell? And I excuse me, Mark. I actually looked at one of the other investigators. Oh, God, and I got to continue this after break, guys. 10:24, I got to take us out to break. I will continue this to the end, though, when we come off break. Hang in there. We'll be back with Vixen's Vault with the final segment in just a few minutes.
Nancy.
I did it, dude. I did it.
Yeah, that's.
I caught it.
That's 2 for your show tonight.
No, I made it on time, dude. It's just turned 10:25.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about F-bombs.
Oh, sorry. Well, I did say that point blank. That was like pretty much a quote. I air quoting when I say that. I was like, "What in the hell?" And Rich, the other investigator, looks at me and he's just like, "Why? What do you get that look? What are you going through? Can you describe it to me?" And I'm shaking my head, looking at him, going, "You don't smell it?" He's like, "Smell what?" And I'm like, "Dude, no. This smells like an ass crack turned inside out. What in the holy heck? This is like, oh my God! It's like what died in that room." And he just kind of looks at me. He goes, "What room?" I'm like, "That room." He says, "Well, that's funny because that's where I was taking you." And as literally I get in the room and the smell is so overwhelming, like I literally turned white. My chest is so tight. It was ridiculous. Like I thought I was going to have a heart attack. And I actually said to him, "Can I sit down for a minute? Because I really am not feeling good." And he goes, What are you feeling?" Like, I should have known. "What are you feeling?" I'm like, "Oh my God, my chest." I said, "I feel like I'm having like a horrific, like a heart attack, but it's got to be gas because I don't have heart issues." And he says, "Uh-huh." And he's like, "Are you getting anything?" And I'm like, "Getting anything?" I was like, I'm about to get a sledgehammer, hit you over the head with it. And then it was weird because as I'm saying that, I'm looking into the back bedroom, and the bedroom, like I blinked and the bedroom was like, the furniture was in different places than when I first looked. And I blinked again and it's back to where it was when I first looked the first time. And I'm like, oh, that was weird. And so I said, well, when I looked in the bedroom, the bed was not there. It was over there. And there was a little table right next to it. And there's a phone off the hook. And I was like describing it. And then I was like, I got a whiff of the smell again, and I looked at him. I go, "Oh!" I was literally, my words, no joke. "You son of a bitch!" I was like, "Somebody died in this room. Somebody died in this frickin' room, and their body was sitting here because that's what I'm smelling. That is a Florida rot body that I'm smelling right now. I know because I was a medic." And I looked at him because this guy was a firefighter for years, so he knew what I was talking about when I said this is a Florida rot body. And he looked at me and he goes, "How many days?" And I was like, "Oh, come on." He goes, "Was it a male or a female?" And I kind of concentrated for a little bit. I was like, "It was a female. It was an older woman." I was like, "It's that phone off the hook that I saw when I blinked. She was trying to call for help."
Oh, wow.
I was like, she had a heart attack. And he was like, "Bingo." And I was like, "Oh my God, if you ever do that to me again, I will freaking kill you." I was like that because again, they do it for scientific purposes, but they're not the one living it. You know, I'm the one that's like trying to figure out why I'm smelling literally Florida body rot, like badly. And I'm thinking, is something wrong? I literally started thinking, is something wrong with me? Am I like having a stroke or something?
For it.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm thinking, am I having a stroke or something that my senses are off? What is going on? Yeah, but it was and it turned out that it was an elderly woman. She had died of a massive heart attack. She had tried to call the front desk, was off the hook. And her body was in the room for 4 days before it started really
Florida?
Because nobody, it was in the summer.
The AC was on.
No, this was before AC days.
Yeah, they didn't have AC in that closed and up in a room.
Yep. And the thing is that it was during the Florida summer, so the hotel was not crowded because there was no snowbirds. So literally, nobody checked on her because she was it was bad.
Good old days.
And it was actually written in their book. Like you could see a full account when we went downstairs to the registration office. They have like a book, and you could see the whole thing. And then the newspaper articles were there because apparently the press got involved. 5, 4,
you're on break.
3, we were
2, 1, and you're live and on the radio side right now.
And we're back. And to make a long story short, I will finish that story with just the fact that I was right. The chest pains I was feeling, person had died in a room, had a heart attack, and their body had rotted for several days before it was found. Oh. And that was their psychic test for me that I never forgave. And I don't know if I forgive it to this day. And they actually, something very similar happened to the other investigator, Virginia. And we were both dead on accurate. That was the weird thing. She just didn't get the chest pains, which I was not real happy about. But like I said, I don't think we can understand why we're the way we are. I think it's got to do with frequency. And I think that our brain assimilates certain things differently, and the message gets sent and received differently with us. So for me, it was like almost like a weird clipped movie playing out in my head when I was kind of seeing things changing. Had a second occasion in that same building, though, Dave, in the kitchen before the blue light.
Really?
Yes. There's a back room off the kitchen, and when I walked into that back, first of all, in the kitchen, I mean, that's all I could feel in that kitchen was anger, like absolute, like raging fury in the kitchen.
That goes for the kitchen, Mark, though, because like I've had experience as a kid, like fry cooks and stuff like that, and it's constantly just a hostile environment. People aren't, like fighting all the time, but it's not a positive environment as
well. It's hot. It's hot. You're hot, sweaty, nasty, and you're under high stress and pressure to do things correctly.
Yep.
But this was like murderous rage. And it turned out that there was a chef that had murdered his wife, who had worked in that kitchen for like 15 years. Yep. And then I walk into the back room off the kitchen, and the whole room inverted on me. So it was dark in the room. It went from dark to bright white as I'm walking through the door, just like for a few seconds. It was like instantaneous, and then back to dark again. But while it was bright white, I see a noose and a body hanging from the rafter in the room. Mm-hmm. And I'm like,
after 15 years working with your wife in the back of the house, yeah, that's got to be rough.
Dude.
What's for him?
But violent things like that, horrific things like that, I think they actually do leave an imprint on time and space.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do too. I think that's a big difference. And a lot of, like this week, I had a cool week. I actually got in an argument with a Buddhist.
Ooh, how did you do that?
Well, my buddy Otto invited me to a Discord channel that was all Buddhist because I'm curious about their conversations and stuff. We started talking about Indo-European language groups, and like this guy he was really aggressive in the conversation. It was just a regular conversation that he tried to turn into some kind of intellectual debate. And
so he's Buddhist in name only.
well,
he's not one of the peaceful people, Roger.
No,
he started dong measuring information, huh?
Well, hold up. Buddhists, first of all, aren't peaceful, Dave. They're like Buddhists are usually gay or they're mean, one or the other, but never peaceful. They talk peace, but they are like really horrible, freaking mean people. Okay, and I'm sitting there talking to him. It got to the point where I told him, I was like, "Look, man, you are obnoxious, and I'm done with this. I don't want to talk no more." And he kept. And so I left, and then everybody thought I was butthurt. So I didn't say nothing. I came back in the next day, and one of the guys in there said, "You might have chased off one of the first people that we have in here." And then he said, "Don't listen to these people. This is a conservative, far-right Nazi Buddhist group." And I was like, I asked him that, I was like, "Are you guys Nazis and stuff?" And he goes, "No, we're not Nazis." And then I told him, I was like, "Well, you better not be Nazis because I'm not into that stuff." And they go, "Oh, we're not Nazis. But I tell you one thing, though." And then he starts running his mouth more and more and more. And I'm like, God, man. So what I basically did is I told him that it was ethno-nationalist bullshit is how I stated it.
Ethno-nationalist. Boy, you're coming up with quite the vocabulary over there, Roger. Ethno-nationalist.
Well, check this out. All of a sudden, they started getting mad at me again and freaking started talking about racism and stuff. And I told them, I went silent on them, and I waited for like the whole day to end, and they kept talking about racism all the time. And then I finally popped back in there, and I said, when one farts in a room, it's best not to linger.
You know, talking about ethno-racism or even racism in general, on a fluke, I went and looked up the definition of anti-Semitism the other day, which I will tell you has altered. It has drastically altered. When I went to look it up,
because alters every 2 or 3 years, literally.
Dude, now anti-Semitism, go look it up. Type in anti-Semitism and look up what it reads, because it says if you're looking at the AI output of what it is, it states that anti-Semitism includes conspiracy theories about Jews. If you have a conspiracy theory about a Jew, you're somehow anti-Semitic. I'm like, huh? I'm literally reading, going, what?
Probably has a picture of my face as a poster child.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I've got a tip for you. I've got a good tip for you.
Before I forget, did you guys hear about the letters that went out about 5-6 days ago to anybody that works for the U.S. Postal Service?
Yep.
You guys hear anything about that?
Yep.
Basically, they've gotten letters saying something to the nature of, in the near to, kind of near future, there may be lockdowns for either civil unrest or they saying for possible pandemic, which is kind of weird. Like, what do you mean pandemic or civil unrest? But that's,
it was sent to.
That's what the people that work at the post office got. They all got that.
It was UPS who sent it out as a corporate memo, as well as the United States Postal Service. And it's one of the reasons I said they know something. Trump is going to pull the Insurrection Act, and they know it. Because it was basically
I don't know if
advising.
That's what they know, but they definitely know
they
something.
Just not edging the bets.
Well, no, because if the Insurrection Act is called, it's going to be very close to what a COVID lockdown was, which is you can't travel without documentation proving you should be on the road. So the postal workers, all of them would have to carry their documentation with them in case they were pulled over. And people don't realize that if the Insurrection Act is actually put into play, it is a form of martial law.
And that goes for people getting treatments like dialysis, or there's other treatments.
That's going to be so cool. That's going to be so cool. Can you imagine? I can't wait until the day of insurrection comes and they start.
Oh, seriously. I got one of them letters from 2020 March, because we didn't know how bad it was going to go. They said, this fella needs treatment once a week. Please let him drive to the place to get his, treatment.
Yeah,
well, Ralphie had to carry his stuff with him.
That's Nazi shit.
I didn't have anything, and I just drove all over the place. Yeah, I had no problem.
Well, I had no problems either in New Jersey, but some people had big problems out west and other places. So they just it was nobody knew how bad it was going to get. They gave us that in March of 2020.
Didn't the Germans make you carry your papers during World War II?
Papers, please.
Sure did.
Passport. Carry your passport.
You ready to hear me?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben.
Sorry, no, I was going to say was if that happens and they start locking down travel, my what I anticipate is going to happen is that they're going to make another run at standing up the Viper teams. You remember what I told you about?
Yep.
Bringing on air marshals to do checkpoints throughout the United States. It keeps pissing me off because I keep circling back to everything that Obama tried to do. During his campaign, he was talking about how we needed a civilian force as strong as the military.
Yep, exactly.
And, and then during his second term, that's when he started spooling up FEMA camps. You had the plastic coffins, the mass grave coffins and everything else, and the National Guard announcements to staff the FEMA camps. And, everything was getting lined up. And we were just lucky enough that they were basically Obama. There was so much pushback against Obama and the FEMA camps and everything else that he didn't manage to get the Viper teams up and running. But like I said, if you were to, let's say, not subscribe to the Q thing and you look at everything that's happening now, basically the Biden, if let's say the Council of 13 or the 300 or whatever, they're the ones that are pulling all the strings and making all the plans and this, that, whatever. It's a perfect storm where the Biden administration lets all these aliens in to justify the militarization and the ramping up of the federal forces and the implementation of Palantir and universal digital ID and so universal digital surveillance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They lay the perfect storm for Trump to be able to do all this. Now, if he starts the Insurrection Act up, well, that's more than enough justification for him to implement the Viper teams. So everything that we thought we were getting away from, it seems like it's still on course to start up, and that's what scares the shit out of me.
Well,
and they
I look at it as
50% of people to root for it.
I don't.
Sure,
yeah, but you were going.
Sorry. I'm not so sure it's going to start in the US. It doesn't make sense to start in the US. There's much more interest. There's much more figure in Europe, in various European countries for it to. If all the CBDCs
the alphabet organization.
It's going to start anyway. It's going to start in Europe somewhere.
Well,
it's going to start here. You guys are pussies. You guys don't got no guns.
Yeah, exactly. They just don't have the will to fight. They're going to give up like nothing because it's like you look at the way the EU is being played out right now. Like they don't even care.
The way I look at it, I mean, I know
the farmers are holding their own in Brussels. I'm kind of proud of them farmers out there that are pissed off, flexing.
Nancy, go ahead.
I was going to say I have my own take on certain things, as you well know, Rafi, and I always fall back on the Israel's last coin of what Q said because it was one of the biggest points he made. Israel is last, and people can take that and qualify it however they like or put whatever term. People think that means Israel would be destroyed last. I don't think so. I think Israel will be the last of the countries to overtake and throw out their corrupt government. That's what I think might be Israel is last. They will be the last ones to do it. Because we're already making, you can see it. I mean, right now, all the insurgency you're seeing in the United States, all the protesting you're seeing, the only thing it's doing is basically making everybody really aware exactly who's doing what. And I said it to you the other day, Ralphie. My question is even for the members of the GOP, our Republicans that are sitting in office right now, where are their big mouths? Where are they? Because they are, just like during Biden, they are cryptically silent. Like with J6, they were very silent when it came to defending people for J6 and the fact that these people should never have been rounded up. They should never have been held or detained indefinitely under the NDAA. We had a woman shot during that who wasn't even armed. She didn't have a 2-ton vehicle. She was not running anywhere close to that officer, and she was shot dead. And nobody said a word about that. So I see a different dichotomy, and I kind of look at it as, they have to lock us down. They have to. Because if they do not lock us down, the collateral damage, if they are really going to take this out, they're really going to dig this out and get it in one fell swoop, just take it out. There will be way too much collateral damage if everybody's out there running around doing their thing. No joke. It will be horrific when it comes to collateral damage because nobody's going to know exactly what's going to go on. You're going to have a lot of patriots out there armed because we are the ones that are armed. Although I will tell you that the protesters and the Antifa organizations working with them had put out notifications, and I can tell you this for a fact because I've been on their forums and I've seen the notifications. They are putting out notifications to all their people to arm up and wear bulletproof vests. Because, see, they took a note out of our book, and they said, well, if the Second Amendment's good for them, it's good for us too. But they're using it in a different way. There were no guns at J6, not by the protesters. Nobody was armed. So it's one of those things where, they're taking it to a different degree. And to take them out, you're going to have to lock people away where they're safe.
On the point of Israel being the sort of last country to removed a corrupt government. I disagree. I can see we've got very compliant countries such as Canada. We talked about New Zealand earlier, Australia. They've got those countries have got citizens that are not really overly politically motivated, let's just say, on the whole.
Well, yeah, but you've got Canada that is useless. They have no defenses. They have no defenses. They have no military. Like, we could go into Canada in a drop of a coin and take them over with pretty much no resistance at all. No joke. No joke. It would be an absolute shit show. I mean, Greenland. That's another reason with Greenland. I've said that. You know, Denmark keeps calling claim to Greenland. It's ours. It's ours. It's ours. It's ours. It's ours. They haven't really put a dime into Greenland. The United States has put all the money into Greenland. That's one of the reasons Trump is kind of like,
in the legal front, it is still it's still a Danish.
They claimed it. They claimed it.
You guys remember something called the population bomb that was put out back in like 1960s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what a lot of this reminds me of. It was discussing stuff like JFK and the ruling elites, secret societies, and stuff like that. We're going to be doing all of this. It's about orchestrated global control, population
But
control.
that's why I kind of laughed when Brent Hamachek was saying that there's not really secret societies. Yes, there are really secret societies. And when he was saying that, if I could have gotten a word in at that point, I was going to ask him about Gog and Magog, because that was Bush and Bush Jr. Those were their identities.
He
and if you look
that,
up those names,
he mentioned those on John's show. So yeah, he
Gog
knows
and
about
Magog.
that.
Yep, and there's no getting around that. That came straight out of Skull and Bones. That's not even talking about like Rosicrucians, and there's so many different societies that run around that are very, very pivotal in how things work within politics and within government. It's not even funny. But there's also people in very high places where if that system goes away or that system gets exposed, they're going to lose everything. And they don't necessarily have to be involved in what's going on. But as a result of this stuff being exposed fully and then nullified, it's going to hurt them badly. And I think that's why a lot of Americans kind of turn away from a lot of this stuff. They don't want to hear it. They will 100% accept that it's just conspiracy bullcrap. It's not real, rather than say, well, wait a minute. Because, these guys are your captains of industry. These guys are.
Let's break that down, though. Okay, let's look at this. Freaking the population bomb. What did it say? It said that this is all going to be woven in through intelligence agencies. They're going to. It's going to be captured institutions and fabricated plagues. Do you know when they say fabricated plagues? What sticks out to you?
COVID. Actually, no, not even just COVID. Swine flu. I can name a few of them.
Mm-hmm. Well, intelligence agencies too, especially because if you listen to Raph, he can tell you that it's being played out right now in front of us, and we don't even see it. No.
I think we all see it, and like I said, I was one when swine flu was happening. I was like, "This is bullshit. This is a test drive. This is not a problem. This is a test drive to see how they can control the population. Who's going to go for the vaccine? Who's not going to go for the vaccine?" It was literally, that was an alphabet agency test drive. Mm-hmm. The whole swine flu was that.
COVID.
No, COVID was another step in it. Beta. Yep, COVID was the next step.
Beta is what I know somebody called it. And at the time, I was thinking, nah, you're wrong. It's not big beta. They're making their move. But it turned out I was wrong, and he was.
I'm not so sure about swine flu because looking at it from a British point of view, we've had several cases of swine flu since the 1960s.
Okay, no, hold on.
Oh, no, so do we.
I mentioned that book for a reason, though, Mark, because you brought all that stuff up. You're the one that brought Australia and New Zealand in, okay? And according to this theory, the Five Eye Intelligence Networks are led by alliance between spy agencies from America, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand.
Yep. Okay. And it's headed up in Wellington, New Zealand. Yep.
So
Yep.
That's when you said that, that's what stuck out to me. That's why I thought of that.
Well, and here's the thing, Mark, too, with the swine flu. Again, they tend to hit the alarm very quickly. And, everybody fret, everybody line up, get your kids shot. That's the first thing they say. Oh, get your kids vaccinated. Well, the problem with the swine flu is it already hit us back in 1976 here in the States. And it was a pretty isolated instance in New Jersey, not a big outbreak. And they took this vaccine that they came up with really, really quick, like they did with the COVID one. And they went ahead and used it on a bunch of people at an army base. And it killed like 80% of the people who took that vaccine. So right there, that to me, that's a test drive. That first 1976 action, that was a test drive. When it happened again in early 2000, I think it was like 2000, what was swine flu, 2008, 2009, that was a test drive. And then you had COVID. COVID was the next step in the test drive. And we know that because the UN met about it before it happened. And we also know COVID was circulating in the population well before it was announced. Over here in the States, you guys who live here in the States, that would be the rest of the panel, do you remember the months preceding COVID? Everybody was getting sick with what they were calling an undetermined upper respiratory virus. That was lasting 10 to 20 days, and it was taking people to their knees. I know because I caught it from a guest at the bar I was working at. And the guest that had it was hospitalized for 3 weeks with it. And we never got a name for that virus. It was an undetermined, unnamed upper respiratory virus. And this is pre-COVID. This was like in September, October, November.
Interestingly enough, I believe I got COVID at the start of March 2000. It was 2000, wasn't it? Sorry, 2020. At the start of March 2020, and there wasn't any reports about COVID until near the end of March. So yeah.
Well, and here's the other. I was keeping track of it all the way into 2019. Like I remember they were talking about all the stuff happening in
Wuhan,
China, Wuhan, and everything. At least 6 months beforehand, and nobody even raised a finger. It was okay that all these things were happening over there. We just forget about it. And if you remember, our military was crazier. Over there.
What was crazier is how in April of 2020 they had their version of Eminem or whatever, a great big concert at a water park. I mean, it was really bad over there, but then it was gone. Here we are and pumping the propaganda and everything like that. People are filming their hospitals under hashtag Film Your Hospital, and it's showing them absolutely empty, void of anybody there. And here they are at a water park or at a rap concert or whatever. All these people, no masks, nothing like that. This wasn't even 2021 yet.
Well, and people also have to, they have to remember, because they intentionally made COVID very chaotic for everybody, with news features and all that crap. But you have to remember what happened at the beginning of COVID. Why was everybody so afraid over here? I know Ralphie was like beside himself because he's like a germaphobe to begin with. COVID just put him into orbit with that.
One of the reasons is they looked in China. They saw people falling on their face.
That's what I was going to say. China and Italy.
Flu.
The first two places that got hit. No, it wasn't that they were falling on their face. It was that they were dropping dead. Like showing symptoms 2 hours earlier and dropping dead in the street because of cytoclastic reaction supposedly killed them within hours. Okay? And it happened in Wuhan and it happened in Italy. And those were the first big cases that we were seeing. So we're being shown this virus that kills you in hours and there's no fighting it. Okay? But those were the only two instances that happened with. We didn't have one case in the continental United States where somebody dropped dead and coughed their entire pretty much organ system out of their mouth.
Oh, I know
because
of
COVID.
Didn't stop them from telling us here in New York that they're taking them to Plum Island. You have to burn the bodies. You can't even bury them. That's what they were telling us the first couple months, anyway.
What I'm saying is that was not COVID. What killed those people that just dropped dead and they were coughing their guts out, that was either radiation poisoning or that was, something far deadlier than COVID. but it was
Something
not
they let
COVID.
out.
Yes, it was definitely not COVID, but it was done intentionally to scare people. It was not COVID.
I can tell you
though.
one thing, it was in Iran a lot more. It was in certain places a lot more. Like nobody could explain that, why it would hit Iran so very, very hard.
Oh, because of the genetics. It was because of the genetic indicators. COVID
Like
was
Dr.
designed.
Kevin Barrett was talking about that.
Yep,
He believes
COVID
was designed to go after
to certain races. Yes, it
Mm-hmm.
was. And in fact, black people were kind of targeted with COVID because of the fact of their sickle cell anemia. It actually made them. It was far deadlier for black people than it was for most others because of sickle cell, which. Again, they didn't bring that up. That was not loudly touted on the news, but it was very true. So, all right, with that, guys, I'm actually looking at the time, and I got to close out the show for the night. But that was actually, I really enjoyed the conversations tonight. I thought it was really good. Hang in there, guys. We'll be on again next week, so long as we're all still standing next week and have internet connection. That would be great. We don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. If not, good luck. I will say that. Hope you have food stores. Have a great evening, guys. We'll talk to you next week on the Vixen's Vault.
Primary objective successful. Shutdown sequence initiated. Shutting down.